Hello. I bought this webcam because this Casey Anthony trial is really driving me crazy. And I can't figure out why the media has not caught on to what's happening. And at this point, the prosecution is just going so bumpity astray and just making mistakes one after the other. And now they have it where Casey Anthony may have to testify herself, which may hurt them tremendously. But when you go back to the beginning of 2008, when this child went missing, if you remember, before the grandmother called and reported the child was missing on that 911 call, shortly prior to that incident, there was a lot of fighting going on in this family. A lot of fighting. And what it is that Casey Anthony was trying to weave herself out of this tremendous web of incest and lies and games, and she wanted out. And it's my opinion that she probably had this plan to dispose of the child, years before it actually happened. But the suspect part of the whole thing, and what the media is not bringing out at this point in time, is that when there was a question of paternity for who the father to the child is, and there was a question of paternity, there were DNA tests ordered from certain people. And after they did a DNA test on the child, the report came back, and you can view it online. The report came back very suspect because there was an overabundance of what you call like genes in the baby's DNA. And the only answer to that is that she's an incest child. The mother and the father were blood related. And the FBI knows this, and the Sheriff's Department, and of course the high profile authorities involved. They all know what it is, but it just has never been released publicly. Now, they did release a statement, and it was on the news and on the internet and in all the media, that Lee Anthony was excluded from being the father. They publicly excluded him because his DNA did not match the father's unique part that would be uniquely from this one individual. It did not belong to Lee Anthony. However, they did not exclude George Anthony. And it has never been told. But this man, and if you watch very closely on the jail tapes, this man has controlled this young girl probably all of her life. And it's my opinion that she was an incest victim from very early age up until adulthood. And it is also a fact that she didn't have much of a life until after the baby was born. And that's when, after the baby was born, she gained a little power over her father because of this huge secret. And in the state of Florida, by the way, it's illegal to have a baby with your daughter. In fact, there's a life sentence that carries with pedophilia in the state of Florida. So that's a tremendous motivation for George Anthony to want to be rid of the child. But beyond that, I still think probably Casey Anthony, with all her lies and tells, is probably the one responsible for at least the death. I'm not sure about the disposing of the child. So go back to the report. The DNA report came back with suspect genes that were like mother, like father. And only 3 people could be the father of this child, and that would be the brother, the grandfather, or her own paternal father, George Anthony. So what the media is not caught on to at this point in time is that this girl is a tremendous victim of incest and had a life of complete hell. And her mother, Cindy Anthony, she probably has an idea, but she's in such denial, and she's trying so hard to make something of this family, to have something to brag about. And at this point in time, she's still on the stand saying, well, Zanny the nanny kept the child, this much of the time, and so she's still buying into that fantasy of Casey's lies, because there's a void that has no explanation, otherwise. Now, Casey Anthony had money during the time that she claimed that she worked. And the money, in my opinion, is that the money came from George Anthony, because he claimed that he lost money gambling. And there is no trace evidence of that loss or of that gambling online. So it's my opinion that he was, feeding his daughter money because of this situation. And it's just kind of a situation that couldn't go away. The baby was born. It didn't go away. And I feel that she broke away from her father, at a certain point after the baby was born. I feel that she wanted to go on her own way, and that she began to, get more power inside and grow apart from his control. And I feel that he was obsessively controlling with her, to the point where he passed out scripts for what she should say. So the whole family is just so dysfunctional. And the Cindy Anthony she's in such denial. And I have no idea if this is going to come out, in the trial about this paternity test. I have a feeling it will. I have a feeling the prosecution is going to lead to setting this man up, George Anthony. But whether or not he did it, I don't know. I do know that the gas cans that were in the back of the girl's vehicle, they did not have fingerprints. And who would take the time to cover up fingerprints if you were just filling your car up with gas? So perhaps if she had taken the time to wipe the prints, Casey herself, then perhaps she was going to burn the remains for some other plan other than just using the gas can to refill her car with gas. So Lee Anthony is stuck in the middle of all this, and he knows and he doesn't know. And Cindy Anthony is part of the reason that this whole charade has gone this far. She knows, but she doesn't know. She's been told, but she doesn't believe. She blocks it out. She totally denies it. And this girl has been a victim her entire life. And her time in prison now her time in jail now might be the only time that she's ever had to herself without trying to function inside of all this horrible control. So that's what's happening in this trial. So what the prosecution is going to do now, I have no idea. They're kind of between a rock and a hard place. And I have a feeling that the judge knows who the father is. The attorneys probably know who the father is. Not sure where this is going to lead to, but we shall see. But the reason this girl sits there and has this blank look on her face is because she is outside of that turmoil right now. Although she's in a jail cell, she's outside of all that negative turmoil, living this horrible life with this monstrous problem. So she's blank in the face. And if you look at George Anthony and watch his reactions very closely, you'll see that he's deeply bothered by something. And it shows on his face, in his forehead, in his facial movements, in his eyes. And we shall see what happens now. But Casey Anthony is more than likely going to have to testify at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and very interesting to see how Cindy Anthony keeps answering and handles this these issues that are going to unravel. She's such a conflicted woman, and her family is my God, the most conflicted family I've ever heard of, I've ever known, I've ever seen on television. So we'll see what happens. Thank you.